When we look at the future Hachiyama administration, we know that the people who are going to be central in this new administration basically all come from the same roots.
ですから日本人はもし期待に添える政治をしなければおそらくすぐに自民党に戻ると思います。
In other words, I believe that the Japanese people will make a very quick decision very quickly. In other words, if the Hachiyama administration does not respond to the great expectations of the people, I think the people will again choose the LDP, go back to choosing the LDP very quickly.
いいか悪いかは別にして民主党の首脳と言われる中枢にいる人たち、自民党の中枢にいる人たちも元仲間同士でした。
In other words, putting aside whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, the reality is that the people who are at the heart of the power base in the LDP and the people who are at the heart, the top people within the DPJ, basically they're all former colleagues. They all come from the same roots. They share the same roots. Yes, ma'am.
The accomplishments that you cited about the Constitution have existed all along, and certainly had nothing to do with the change in governments. But there is another change that certainly did have a change in relation to the change in governments, and that's the collapse of the Japanese economy. It was called the lost 10 years. It's become a lost generation, a lost 20 years. The stock market, for instance, was 39,000 yen on the last trading day of 1989. It was 7,000 yen just a few months ago. Straight down, and it's back up to 10,000 now. But you're losing population, and in losing population, the most important part of the population is young people. When the supply goes down, you would think the wages would come up, but the young people are dwindling and their wages are going down. Are these problems going to be solved by this new government?
まず最初の憲法の問題ですけれども、今回の選挙で憲法というのが非常にバックボーンにあったということは、これは事実なんです。なぜならば日本という国が自衛隊を派遣するしない集団自衛権をどうするのかということが大変大きな問題になって国民の心の中に重くのしかかっておりました。
First of all, in regard to the fact that you mentioned the Constitution and you thought perhaps it did not play too much of a direct role in this election, I believe very strongly that the constitutional issue very much did serve as the kind of backbone to people's feelings regarding this election. Apologies for this clumsy translation. What I'm saying is that the question of whether the self-defense forces should be deployed or not deployed, whether collective self-defense should be allowed or not, these are questions that are very, very much in the hearts of the people. And I believe that, again, these thoughts about the Constitution, about Japan's role in the world, served as the foundation or the backbone of their thinking in this election.
日本人は在日米軍の問題、それから沖縄の基地の問題、グアム島に一体どれだけの米軍が移転するのかしないのか、その費用をどれだけ税金から出さなきゃいけないのか、そういうものが非常に日本の国民一人一人の胸の中に大きく渦巻いております。
For example, the forces, the U.S. forces in Japan, what to do about the bases in Okinawa, how many of the U.S. forces will actually move to new bases to Guam, and how much will that move cost, how much will have to be borne by the Japanese people. These are questions that are very, very deep in the hearts of individual Japanese. I believe that this is something that they think about quite often.
もう一つが今おっしゃられた経済の悪化という問題。
Of course, another very, very important element, another important element in people's thoughts right now is the deteriorating economy, as you've pointed out.
アメリカのサブプライム問題、それからリーマンブラザーズのショック 日本という国は昔アメリカが咳をしただけで日本は肺炎になると言われました。
Of course, we know that we've seen many difficult problems in the United States, subprime problem, collapse of Lehman Brothers, etc. There was an old saying that in the past that if the United States coughed, Japan would catch pneumonia.
そういう中で日本の経済が非常に逼迫をしてきた。特に雇用の安定ということにものすごく影響が出ました。
And so in that sense, certainly the Japanese economy has seen a great deterioration, especially in terms of people being able to secure stable employment.
ですから麻生総理がまず経済の振興策を取ろう、経済の浮揚策を、経済をと言ったんですが、実際の生活は非常に雇用の不安、職を失う、そういう問題に直面したんです。
And that is precisely the reason that Mr. Aso stressed for many months that we have to think of the economy first. We have to think of ways to revise and lift the economy as much as possible. In spite of this, however, the actual reality is that the everyday lives of the people have become harsher than ever before. We've seen great anxiety about people's employment. We've seen many people lose their jobs.
そこにもう一つ、後期高齢者という印鑑を日本の政府が作りました。
And on top of all of these difficulties, the government implemented a new system, the medical insurance system for people over age 75.
若い人たちが自分たちの行く末を見たときに、日本という国は随分辛い国だなと思い始めました。
As a result of all of these developments, Japanese young people are now beginning to feel there isn't a rosy future ahead of them, but things look bleak for them in the future.
お国を信じて預けてきた年金が食い潰されてなくなってしまった。
We see that the Japanese people who have trusted the state to take care of their valuable pensions have seen that these pension assets have been squandered.
平和の問題、経済の問題、そして健康の問題、そういう3つが大変重くのしかかった結果、日本に今回の選挙のような風が吹いたんだと私は思います。
I think it is because the three issues of peace-related issues, economy-related issues, and health-related issues have all come together to create the wind that brought about the election results we've seen this past week.
特に経済の中で時給、要するに1時間あたりいくら時給というのがございます。
Especially when we talk about economic matters, we look at the hourly wage.
最低賃金というのを日本は決めております。
As you know, in Japan we do have a legally determined minimum wage.
ところがこれが各県によってまちまちなんです。
However, this minimum wage varies from prefecture to prefecture.
もう一つ、25円、1時間あたり25円上げようかという意見が。
A separate issue. There has been talk now recently of raising the minimum wage by 25 yen per hour.
国会議員は平気でじゃあ1時間あたり25円上げようかと言いますが、8時間労働すれば200円です。
Diet members talk enthusiastically about this as a good policy. They say, why don't we just go ahead and implement that and raise hourly wage by minimum wage by 25 yen? But that means that if a person is working an 8-hour day, he gets 200 yen more that day.
10日で2000円、20日で4000円です。
That means he works for 10 days, he gets 2,000 yen more than he normally would have, and 20 days he gets 4,000 yen more.
1年経てば5万円近くです。
That means over a year he would make 50,000 yen more.
中小企業の下に零細企業というのが日本にあります。
As you may know, we have